Hello and welcome to Early Childhood Ireland's podcast, which features interviews and discussions on all issues relating to equality in the early years and school-age care sector. In our episodes, we've a range of speakers who are leaders in the areas that matter to Early Childhood Ireland members. This podcast series is proudly supported by Aricus Insurance, which offers a comprehensive range of cover at discounted premiums for both business and personal insurance products. So visit www.aricus.ie for more information. I'm Maura Corbett and I work with Early Childhood Ireland. There are known links between effective pedagogical leadership and quality in early years and school-age care. However, it takes time to become leaderful and to be leaderful. And it takes support as well. It needs to, I think, evolve over time. It can start as a subject or a topic in initial training, but it does need to be nurtured and supported as time goes on and practice develops. I was looking back at a Scéalta blog written some time ago by my colleague Kathleen Chute. She said, pedagogical leaders who know the many ways that children learn and who know how important, responsive and thoughtful interactions are to children's development can greatly influence and assist educators in developing their pedagogical practice. In a period of change and uncertainty, our image of the child as a capable, competent learner remains the same. We also need to be aware that the child's funds of knowledge may have deepened and developed in ways that we mightn't have thought possible, but we can embrace. Part of the work and responsibility of pedagogical leaders will involve problem solving and having the courage to act productively and creatively. To help address this need for ongoing understanding and support in the area of pedagogical leadership in Early Childhood Ireland, to help address this need for ongoing understanding and support in the area of pedagogical leadership, we in Early Childhood Ireland have been working on a project called Enhancing Leadership Practices. And today I'm chatting to my colleague, Dr. Christina Egan Marnell, and to Siobhán Barrett to talk about this project that we've been working on and some of the learning that has evolved from participation. Christina has been on the podcast before. She's an early childhood specialist here in Early Childhood Ireland, and she's worked in settings in Ireland and in New Zealand, where she studied for her doctoral degree. And Siobhán is assistant manager at Cahir Bears Creche in Cahir in County Tipperary. She's currently the lead educator of the play school room in Cahir Bears. She has 20 years experience in early years and has worked in Cahir Bears since it opened in 2006. She really enjoys her job and has completely embraced changes that have taken place over the years. So you're both really welcome and thanks for coming on the podcast today.
Thanks, Maura. It's brilliant.
Maura. So Christina, I might ask you first to describe the background to the project and, if you had a definition that you used during the pedagogical leadership program about enhancing leadership practices.
Sure, thanks, Maura. So touching on some of what you have mentioned already, at Early Childhood Ireland, we see leadership as critical to quality practice in early years and school-age care. And we also see leadership being essential to having that continuous quality improvement focus within services. And leadership and leadership development has been a key part of several of our programs over the past several years, and you have touched on that already. From the different work that we have been doing, we identified the need for a pilot program around pedagogical leadership and pedagogical leadership training. And to support this program and to support the conceptualization of it, we carried out a needs assessment with our members in 2023. So I interviewed our members across the country to ask them what their feedback was, what their understanding was of pedagogical leadership, how they felt previous training had prepared them for pedagogical leadership roles, and what they would advocate for new graduates or other early years professionals taking up a pedagogical leadership role. And based on their feedback, we designed a pilot pedagogical leadership program. And it was really important to us that in looking at pedagogical leadership, we looked at it from within an Irish context and designed a program that responded to Irish early years services to the realities and the challenges that are faced by services and for the educators. And in doing so, we developed our own definition. Pedagogical leadership in early year settings is based on the values of working together, showing respect, and learning from each other. It means planning children's learning experiences carefully, teaching in thoughtful and intentional ways, and by recognizing each child as an active, competent learner with unique strengths, interests, and backgrounds. Pedagogical leadership creates a supportive and cooperative place where everyone can learn together. And educators show pedagogical leadership by understanding how children grow and learn. They collaborate with colleagues, families, and children to share ideas, knowledge, and experiences, enhancing each child's learning journey. This leadership happens when educators work together with a shared vision for children's learning and development. And by fostering respectful relationships and partnerships and valuing the contributions of all, pedagogical leaders create an inclusive learning community. They continuously reflect on their teaching, seek to improve, and engage in ongoing learning to ensure high quality early childhood care and education in their setting. And we use this definition as the underlying principles for the pilot programme.
That's a very comprehensive definition. Thanks for sharing it. It really does reflect all the aspects involved in and the importance of pedagogical leadership. So Siobhán, I'll come to you next. And I suppose before we go into your experience on the programme and so on, can you tell us a little bit about Cahir Bears? You mentioned you're there since it opened in 2006. I remember visiting it around that time years ago. So tell us a little bit about the setting, the age range of children you have, how many children, where it's located, and so on.
So it's a community-run setting, and we currently have 4 rooms in operation. We don't have a baby room at the moment. We have 63 children in total. We have 9 1 to 2-year-olds. We have 12 2 to 3-year-olds and 16 full-day sessional year 1 and 16 full-day year 2. And then in each group, we would have 5 sessional children in each group then as well. And I suppose I'm in the play school room, like you said, at the moment. It's great fun. We use the child, yeah, absolutely. We use a child-centered play-based curriculum approach. And yeah, so it's been great. Been a great almost 20 years now.
It's a long time. It's a long time.
It sure is.
And it's great to see settings evolving and developing. And which brings me to what I was going to ask you now, which is, when you saw the CPD program advertised, what motivated you to join? What were your expectations going in?
Well, I suppose I didn't really know what to expect or how it would, I suppose, be presented, be delivered, but it sounded really interesting, and we're always looking for effective CPD, and we're really lucky here. We have a lovely manager, and she always encourages and supports us with our CPD. And so it was actually herself that saw the course advertised, and she came to me because she knew it was a topic of interest to me. And so she asked if I would be interested in taking part in the programme. And I suppose with me returning to the room in September, returning full-time into the room, it came at the perfect time. So it was a great opportunity. And yeah, it was perfect. So I was delighted to take part in it.
I think it's great to see pedagogical leadership being seen as something that's relevant to staff working in the room. Sometimes there can be a preconception that it's, only managers or maybe assistant managers that it's relevant to. And it's really about being a leader in your role, whatever that role is. So it's fantastic to have a manager who sees the relevance of it for you as deputy manager, but also in your role in the room, and you described that really well. So during the programme, Siobhán, were there kind of standout moments or turning points? Was there anything that surprised you about yourself as a pedagogical leader?
To be honest, I think maybe it was afterwards that I probably got the most standout moment. I was listening to 2 colleagues who were discussing the programme, because one of actually 2 colleagues had also done the programme with me, but one of which was speaking to another colleague, and she was just, I suppose, interested in how the programme went and what it was all about, and she asked what the course was about and how it went. And once he said pedagogical leadership, she replied, "Oh, it was for leaders, not so it wasn't for me, because I'm not a leader." And he was very quick after the course to respond to her and to explain, well, oh, but you are a leader. And, you know, it very much so does, it does affect you. And so he continued and he explained everything to her about the programme and everything we came back with, I suppose. And it was really interesting. And maybe myself, before I took part, I suppose I too might have associated that the leader being as the leader within the room. So it was very interesting to listen to the discussion, and it was great to hear some positive feedback being shared and coming back from the programme.
And what does being a pedagogical leader mean to you?
Well, I suppose a pedagogical leader will be someone who supports and builds a good relationship with children, families, and colleagues. And it means, most importantly, listening to the voice of the child, listening to each child as an individual, and creating inquisitive environments. And it means engaging in reflective practice and always, I suppose, striving for improvements.
Yeah, there's so much in that, isn't there, about that constant striving for improvements and making sure that
absolutely, in every aspect, you know, be it the environments, be it anything to do with taking everything into consideration.
And how does it support positive and learning experiences for children? And do you think your practice changed and evolved over the duration of the CPD?
I definitely do. I suppose there was different things during the programme. We spoke about children making judgments in their own learning. And this is something I would definitely like to introduce more of within our setting.
In what kind of ways, Siobhán?
Well, I suppose even talking about samples of their work and using photos to start discussions, and even keeping maybe something that the child has made or done, you know, and being able to, so that they can compare the next time that they make or do it. Definitely photographs, and then they can, I suppose, work off their past learning to new learning, you know. And also, I think we took back one of the other settings had we were broke out into breakout rooms and we had discussions, and they were talking about something they do, and that is when they're reflecting with the child afterwards with their learning stories, that they document what each child says at that moment in time. And I think that was a nice thing to bring back. So even that, the interaction with other professionals was really interesting, and it was lovely. But yeah, so I definitely feel it's supported here.
Peer learning, you know, having somebody leading a discussion, facilitating on different points of change, and, you know, sharing information and knowledge, and maybe challenging you in ways is really good. But there's nothing like peer learning, I think, you know, and hearing the different ways people hear things, interpret things, do things. There's huge learning in that as well.
Definitely.
So, Siobhán, you know, if there was somebody listening to this episode of the podcast who was kind of considering taking part in a similar CPD program, have you advice for them?
Oh, I would definitely encourage anyone thinking of taking part in a pedagogical leadership program. I suppose it definitely makes you more considerate of the things you do every day, and it also makes you reflect on the type of pedagogical leader you are in relation to children, parents, and colleagues. And it gives you the opportunity to interact with, like we were talking about, other professionals. You know, that opportunity is lovely to be able to bring back something from other places, other settings.
And for you, what's next on your leadership journey?
So I suppose to continue with any relevant CPD courses or anything, I'm actually booked into the Strengthening Connections course on the 15th of November with supporting educators to reflect and value, to show the rational pedagogy, and just, I suppose, to be the best support and leader I can be.
Great. Christina, have you anything to add? It's been lovely to hear Siobhán's journey and learning and hearing her developing her leadership skills within the room and within the setting.
Yeah, and it was lovely to have Siobhán and her colleagues actually as part of the team. But something that really resonated with me that you've just spoken about there, Siobhán, was that idea of empowerment, that for you as an educator, for you as an existing leader, and for you as an early years professional, feeling that level of empowerment to self-identify as a pedagogical leader. And that was one of the key principles of the program. It wasn't about training people to be pedagogical leaders. It was about supporting educators to recognize they already are pedagogical leaders. The work that they do on a day-to-day basis, supporting children's learning and development and extending it. It is something that can only happen through pedagogical leadership. And to see yourself and your colleagues identify as a pedagogical leader and to feel comfortable to call yourself a pedagogical leader, I think is so important, because the work that we do within early years, the work that we do within early childhood care and education can't happen by chance. That comes with training, extensive training and experience and reflection. So it's important, I think, that we recognise that very professional status of educators as pedagogical leaders. But also something else that you said that I thought that was really worth mentioning was that the changes that you've made to practice, or maybe not so much changes, but just highlighting that effort to encourage children to show greater agency in their own learning, that they are the leaders of their own learning and they can take control of it, and that when they're reflecting back on an experience that you are documenting that as part of your pedagogical documentation to highlight their voice, their opinion and what is important to them. So again, another wonderful example, I think, of pedagogical leadership.
And I think for anybody, ASH that was updated in 2024, we're aware to a greater or lesser extent. Sometimes, people are in different stages of becoming familiar with the updates. But one of the things that's very strong in the update, as you both know, is the concept of the agentic educator. And I think the ideas of pedagogical leadership and the agentic educator very much fit together. And, to go to another definition, it's, for the educator, being agentic means they have the freedom to use their knowledge and skills to interpret ASHTR to support the learning and development of babies, toddlers and young children in their care. So, for anybody who's listening, who's kind of becoming familiar with the updates of ASHTR and kind of saying, what's the agentic educator and what's pedagogical leadership? They very much complement each other and support each other, that if you're leaderful in your role in your room, you are being an agentic educator supporting the agency of the babies, toddlers and young children. So, I think it's lovely to hear that very much coming out from your learning from the programme, Siobhán. So, Siobhán, have you anything to add? Is there anything, that you'd like to say that we kind of haven't covered?
No, I suppose just thanks very much for the opportunity. It was definitely a brilliant programme. We were delighted we took part in it. Even both my colleagues, they really enjoyed it as well. And like Christina said, they both also came from it now calling themselves pedagogical leadership. So that's very, very important. So it was definitely very enjoyable. And thanks very much.
That's a great point to end. And to have developed that concept of being a leader in your role is fantastic. And I would say the team who delivered the programme would very much consider that to be one of the main objectives fulfilled, Christina.
Absolutely. We would see that as a resounding success on its own, to know that participants in the programme see themselves as pedagogical leaders, because we do. At Early Childhood Ireland, we recognise that educators across the sector are doing incredible work, and we see the work that they do as examples of pedagogical leadership. So I'm delighted to hear that your colleagues and yourself, Siobhán, identify as pedagogical leaders too.
And it doesn't end here. You know, it's ongoing. You need to reflect and you know, different groups of children, maybe working with different colleagues. If you have different colleagues next year, you can be that peer leader supporting their leadership skills as well. So well done, Siobhán, and thanks for coming on the podcast to talk to us about it.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me.
And Christina, thanks for giving us that overview of the programme and sharing the definition, which is great.
So for any of our members that are listening today that might be interested in exploring leadership a little bit further themselves, we have a really great resource on Early Childhood Ireland's Learning Hub called the Inspiring Leadership e-learning programme. And it's a great overview of the concept of leadership and building down into pedagogical leadership. So it's a great CPD opportunity that's a little bit shorter that some of our members might enjoy engaging with. And that's called Inspiring Leadership, and it's on the Learning Hub.
Great. And a great jumping off point if somebody is considering you know, evolving further in their journey as a leaders. So thanks for reminding us of that, Christina. So thanks so much, and thank you for listening to this episode of Early Childhood Ireland's podcast, which is proudly supported by Ericus Insurance. And if you enjoyed it, please subscribe, spread the word to your friends and colleagues, and stay tuned for our next episode.